Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of Pop Culture Junkies. Let's talk about how CGC botched my latest order. Let's go. Actually, that. I can't even look at those credits right now, and I'll tell you why. Let's just get straight into it. A few months back, I made a video for you all explaining how to make a window bag. In that video, I specifically had a few comics, 3 books I was sending in to get signed by Artgerm. You can see it also in our intro for a quick second from a never released video from my favorite Artgerm covers. I got my package back earlier this week, and man, things just didn't go well. Let's take a look at these books and talk about what happened and what I had to do to get it fixed. First, there's a Captain Marvel 9.0, Life of Captain Marvel 9.0 variant edition. It contains no grader notes, so I'm not sure what the 9.0 is for. Guess we'll never know because CGC doesn't include graders notes, except for when they feel like it, which is a really cool customer service, guys. It's really, really awesome. I can tell you as a customer of yours, I'm really excited to see books get dinged like this and not have any notes for why. But it is what it is. Again, they don't have real competition, so what are we going to do about it? There must have been spaghetti sauce or some shit crammed in the centerfold of the book. Who the fuck knows? Not me, because there's no fucking notes stating what the issue is, as usual. This is lazy. Like, I'm not upset about the 9.0 here. It's a whatever book for my PC, but it just goes to show how little CGC values us as customers. And it's because they have no real competition that we can turn to. So they treat us and our books, while they have them, like garbage. The second book I sent in was Wonder Girl, number 6. It's an awesome cover. Really love this art. Love the character. Joelle Jones knocked it out of the park on this character and her design. The solo series could have been better, but the art was definitely gorgeous. The story could have been a little more cohesive, but overall I just liked this cover itself. It's not one of his typical kind of covers. It's much more relaxed and playful kind of cover versus like his sultry cover. I really liked it, and that's why I sent it in. Got the 9.8. It's interesting that this is a cardboard cardstock cover, so you can't really have crunched corners or dangling chads from production on there, and somehow it still only gets a 9.8 versus a 9.9 or 10.0. Probably will do a whole video about that later, but it really shows how somewhat crooked and fixed the grading industry is. How does a book with a perfectly flat cardboard fresh off the racks from the printer only garner a 9.8? How's that work? How's it work with like the plastics, like the Death of Justice League that just came out? Anyways, we'll get into that later. This was the second book I sent in. Really happy with the product. Love that he used the gold pen on there. And then we have the book. Look at my last signed book from my Artgerm signature series order with CGC. And what do we notice that's different there? It's got that wonderful blue label. Did they just mess up the label? Nope, they didn't get the fucking book signed. Somehow they got all of my other books signed and not this one. All 3 of them in this order got signed and not this one. And then they still charged me for it. They invoiced me for a signed book that was with these other 2 in the same order and didn't get it signed. This is straight up Bush League shit right here. This is what I expect from like PGX. Like, terrible quality assurance. This book passed through multiple people's hands from start to finish at CGC, and no one notices. There's a literal QA stage, right? Quality assurance stage that the books entered into after grading just for this reason. And it sat there for 4 days. And for 4 days, no one noticed it. No one said anything. And then they billed me for it like it was an actual completed order. Completely ridiculous. But the saga doesn't end there. I called them the day it arrived, and I couldn't get through. I messaged them on their message boards, and then I got a response that said, please call them. So the next day, I called them again. I got a tech support agent on the phone. I'm not going to use his name that he gave me. We'll just call him Dave. I got Dave on the phone. I understand Dave is the fall guy. He's the front-facing guy with no power to fix anything. I know that as soon as he answers, I understand that relationship. There were no assumptions on my part about what Dave could accomplish. Dave tells me he'll need a picture first to prove that the book was actually not signed. Mind you, the book is literally listed on the invoice as not signed, right? On your CGC invoice, when you get it back, it'll say what each book is. It says these first 2 are signed, and it says this 3rd one isn't. But just to prove it to Dave, because I'm sure his higher-ups, that's their first go-to. It's like regular tech support when they're like, did you restart it? It's their first step, right? So they want to see a picture Fine. So I take the picture and I sent it to them. Dave tells me after that it'll take a few days to get to it because they're so short-staffed. At this point, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I fucking lost it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, America, comic fans of the world. I didn't want to go off on the poor frontline customer service guy, but let me just take an aside here for you. As a nurse who's been knee-deep in COVID shit for 2 years, I'm fed up with hearing about short staffing. Right? The amount of unsafe shit we've had to put up with in healthcare since 2020 while being criminally short-staffed, I cannot begin to tell you. I understand other industries are going through the great resignation as well, but they didn't have to do it while figuring out, where to store semi-trailer coolers as temporary morgues on their facility grounds. They didn't have to do it while their coworkers who were taking care of sick people got sick and died. We live in two different worlds, and I understand that part of that risk, I took that burden on when I went into this profession, but I'm just telling you, it just pushed me over the edge at that point in talking to him. First was they fucked up my order and billed me for it. Second was the we'll get to it when we can. And third was the because we're short staffed. I'm not trying to get too political, but I'm saying if you're not in healthcare, please don't sell me on what the last 2 years has been like with short staffing, COVID, and everything else. It's not like those first months, everything else was shut down in COVID. We've been knee deep in COVID shit since then. Every day, as the numbers are increasing everywhere, as the positivity rates are still going up right now, we're still knee deep in the shit. Becoming one of the number one groups reinfected because we're one of the groups still exposed to all these sick people who are coming into the hospital. And that comes with the job. But again, it's frustrating to hear about the short staffing in that moment. The disease is real. People are still dying. It's not going to go away. And for those of us in healthcare, it's very real every single day. So when the kid answering the phone at CGC tells me how they're short staffed and they'll get to my issue when they have time, I just lost it, man. Like I knew he wasn't the target of my frustration, but he also wouldn't forward me to anyone who could help. I asked him that multiple times. I asked him to just send the phone call on. We both know you can't help me. Just escalate the call. And he refused. So I told him I'd send an email with a picture of their up. Not in those terms. Kept it actually 100 professional. I'm black in America and in healthcare. I know how to code switch, trust me. But I told them I would send along an email with the picture and that I expected a response within 48 hours of how they plan to remediate the situation. If they couldn't tell me that, I was just gonna file a claim for a fraudulent charge and get my money back on the whole order. Like, you're not painting half my house and then charging me for it and telling me it's just because you decided not to do the other half. You're not changing one set of the brakes on my car and telling me I owe you shit because you just decided not to do the other half. I asked him who I could expect a response from, but Dave told me that was not possible and assured me that he would forward the email as urgent, whatever the that means to a company with 6 months turnaround time. So here I am without a signed book. Denver Fan Expo is coming up. The Thor Love and Thunder movie release is coming up. The book signed at the time was going for $400 all day on eBay. There were a couple 900 OBOs that I don't know what offer they took. I'm gonna assume it was at least 400 or more because that's what the sales were. And it'll probably increase between now and then. And then it'll tank post-movie like all the Marvel books are. I will never get the value I could have gotten for this book, due to their pathetic excuse for quality control and not catching the issue on multiple levels. The online rep offered to refund me for that one book. I told them they can keep that shit. If I don't get my signed book by the end of the month or a refund for the full order, I'm not paying for any of it. We entered into an agreement for services to be rendered. CGC refused to render those services. So to me, the whole order is null and void. If they want their Newton ring-filled cases back, I'll crack them off. As soon as they send me the money for shipping, I will ship it back to them. If they want to remove the qualified name written on the cover from my books after that, they're welcome to try. But they're not getting my money for this order if the original conditions of the order could not be met. If I can't get full market value for my loss, I'm not sending them a cent, period. I'm also not accepting a grade lower than 9.8 on any book if I sent it back in to get re-signed. If they damage my shit handling it at this point, they have to make amends with that. 100% of this is on them. If this were Walmart or Amazon, I would already have my money back. This company treats us like shit because they can. I said a million times in multiple videos all of the reasons to stick with CGC over CBS, and they're all still true. Like, I don't have another grading option and they know it. CBCS, please get your shit together. You're not the hero we deserve, but you're the hero we need. To give you guys a small update on what happened after that, I spoke with Dave on the phone again. He told me they were happy to offer me a refund for the one unsigned book. I told him that was unacceptable. that I wasn't accepting that I wasn't paying for the order. I told them if that was their answer, then I would dispute the claim with my credit card company and file for a chargeback and a refund. He told me that would get me banned from CGC and I wouldn't be able to send in books anymore. I informed him that I would just have my wife sign up for an account and she would start sending in books at the same rate. And he laughed and said, yep, that's honestly, you could do that. And then I continued to tell him, escalate my call, please. I understand you can't help me. Get me someone on the phone who can. And so he put me on hold and eventually came back and said, it turns out this is a one-time deal. We're going to refund your money for this book, for this whole order. But just know in the future, if anything should happen, that, you know, we won't refund the money for the whole order. Yeah, the fuck you won't. If you on my order like that, you're giving me my money back. You guys don't just get to take people's money, do a half-assed job, and then charge them the full price for it. If you're not going to follow through on the commitment you made when we entered into the agreement for the sale, you're not getting the money from me. So everyone out there, please, when they up your order, you need to hold CGC accountable. We need to start holding this company accountable. What I explained to Dave on the phone is, I know how chargebacks work. If I file for a chargeback claim with a company, the company is responsible for the cost of the investigation. I'm not going to bear any of that cost. That cost is all going to go towards CGC. At the end of the day, they may end up paying the price that I paid for this order or more based on what that costs. So for me, and I'm still going to get the $75 for the one book order back that they offered to begin with. Like, that's still going to happen. So like for me, that threat there, it's not really a threat, guys. If you don't fulfill my order, you're not getting my money. You can have your janky cases back, whatever. If you want your money back, you go take it from the people who ran your signature series event. Instead of them laying on top of people's books with J. Scott Campbell, have them actually keep track of people's shit so it gets signed. Anyways, thought I'd update you guys on this. It sent me over the edge this past week, cost me hundreds of dollars. I was distinctly displeased with this organization. Almost enough to get a CBCS account, but not quite. So until next time, I'll see you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click that like, hit that subscribe.